All right, welcome, boys and girls, to another episode of the IDP Plus podcast with your host here, Steve Thomason, aka Dynasty Santa, and my handsome co-host Matt Record at mrecord21. Matt, first week of the playoffs. How's things going?
Oh, I'm in some leagues. I'm out of many. It's always, fantasy football is so freaking variable. Welcome to the IDP Plus, their podcast, everyone. Welcome back. As always, we are presented by our good friends at Trophy Smack. They have everything you need to bring really your fantasy league up to the next level. They've got rings, they've got
Hell
wallets.
yeah!
They've
Look at
got
that thing.
sick belts. These things are legit as all heck. Those watching on
I love
YouTube, you can
it.
see them. We show these off every week. They are so heckin' legit. They bring your leagues to the next level. It's a lot of fun to actually have something to play for. You're not
Yeah.
just playing for pride. Like you actually have something you can take pictures with, hold up in front of your friends and family. I know you recently switched your league to a Trophy Smack League, yeah?
Oh yeah, we got a new trophy because someone had actually broken our original trophy years
Oh, jeez.
ago, and I was just been too lazy to fix it. But I was like, you know, we're gonna screw it. We're gonna go full upgrade. It's really cool. It's got like an actual football on the top. It's nice and tall. It's got the plaque. So this is a league that's been 20 years plus running. So I need
Dang.
a lot of room for a lot of names and a lot of champions. And the trophy that they have over there, at least one of them has a nice base with 4 sides. You could fit like 10 stickers, tags on each side. Like it's awesome. So it was the perfect move for our home league there to upgrade. So
Heck yeah. So if you use code IDP guys at checkout when you get one of those belts, you get a free one of those rings that I was just showing again on YouTube. So head over there, trophysmack.com, use code IDP guys, get yourself a belt, get yourself a ring, really elevate your fantasy league. What do you say we get into these games?
let's do it. So yeah, we acknowledge, there's probably not a ton of people left needing or wanting to listen about IDP content and whatnot. So we're aware of that. So we're gonna probably not get as deep as we've gotten in the past here, but still gonna do our best to give you guys,
It's one of
good
those ones where
breakdowns.
you start your studs at this point, right? Like if you are
Yeah.
waiver wire scrounging, then congratulations, you made it this far in the playoffs. That's awesome. Uh,
Yeah.
but for the most part, play your studs. Which, granted, this week on the offensive side, there's a whole lineup, really valid lineup with a lot of Cowboys and Jaguars who start your studs did not go well. So we understand that, but start your
Yeah.
studs. But we'll still help guide you a little bit here along the way.
Yeah, you can't get too cute with it right now. So hopefully you guys are advancing here and we'll try to identify any small little edges that might be left. But so we're gonna kick right off here with the Chargers Raiders game from Thursday. We saw the Raiders go nuts on IDP. And unfortunately, Max Crosby didn't really get in on the parade too much. So we saw Malcolm Kuntz, a third-year man, have an awesome game. 2 sacks, returned a fumble, I believe, for a touchdown. Like just all over the place was Kuntz. So now that was all done on 51% of the staff. So it feels like you're kind of going to be chasing points. That's why we don't even have him highlighted as a waiver wire pickup, because this is pretty much his first game of relevancy much of all year. So I don't know how much we can count on that going forward, but it was an impressive performance nonetheless. Sorry, he did not return for a touchdown. It was Jack Jones right below him there, or right above him, who returned an interception for a touchdown on the Raiders side there. So another guy who is not highlighted because similar now, 82% of the staffs, if you're needy in a quarter required league, he could certainly be someone you look at. But again, this whole game was kind of a fluke. I feel like a lot of crazy stuff happened on both sides of the ball there. So for the Raiders, it's pretty much still just Max Crosby. We did see Big Bob Spillane and Divine Diablo miss snaps at points in time. So you can see the only Raider there that we're suggesting to pick up is Luke Masterson, the linebacker, who kind of is the backup for really both of them if one were to miss time. But again, I don't know how serious either of the injuries are. I'd be kind of surprised if either of them missed. But if you're looking to handcuff one of Spillane or Diablo, then Luke Masterson might be your guy there. So anything on the Raiders, man?
Yeah, it's just a fascinating game because it was over so heckin' fast. It was what 42-0 at half, and you can see it in those play times, right? Like Max Crosby, surprisingly only 60%, right? Or Trevin Moehrig,
Right.
66%, Nate Hobbs,
Yeah.
66%. That's not because they were pulled, because they were playing poorly or anything, or injured. Even I don't think there were any major injuries in this game. I could be wrong.
Right.
It was just because the game was over, right? So
Mhm.
that's great for the Raiders from a real life NFL perspective. From a fantasy perspective, I would have loved from some of those folks. Because yeah,
Yeah.
Trevin Moehrig kind of tanked me here. Showed up for one assist on the entire day. He was like, "Come on, you're killing me." Same thing with Hobbs. So yeah,
Brutal.
I think for both of these teams, I think you highlighted the right players. Like Eric Kendricks getting 88%
Mhm.
of defensive snaps was really, really nice to see on the Charger side.
Mhm.
Outplayed the player that has been outplaying everyone on that defense this year in Kenneth Murray.
Mhm.
So yeah, definitely worth. He definitely played right as maybe a top 20 guy moving forward, depending on the matchup. Especially without
Right.
Justin Herbert, the Chargers don't have that much of an offense, which means the defense will be out there quite a bit, which is usually
Right.
an IDP gold mine. So that's great there. And then from the Raiders side, yeah, Jack Jones, the 82% defensive snaps, the
Mhm.
former New England Patriot. I mean,
Yeah.
you love to see that kind of place percentage. If you are in a cornerback required leagues, you can probably
Mhm.
trust someone else that you probably already have,
Mhm.
right? Or find someone that's more than that 100% defensive snaps to keep you going in these playoffs. But I think I saw some tweet just in general defensive backs this week were kind of all over the map. I think it was something like
Mhm.
the top 10 for the entire year were outside of the top 30, like all of them for the entire
Yeah.
week. So really just goes to show how much of a crapshoot the defensive back position can be. So
Mhm.
keep on trusting people that got you to where you are and keep going.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty common occurrence for defensive backs from a week to week. This one might have been more extreme than others, but they're always all over the place. So yeah, we have Eric Kendricks highlighted just because I do think Kenneth Murray, similar to the Raiders linebackers, missed some snaps due to being injured. Again, I don't think anything crazy serious, but Kendricks would probably take over the full time 100% role, 100% of snaps role if Murray were to miss any time there. So that Tuli Tuipulotu been really killing me with this increased opportunity and play percentage time. And he's just not delivering as of late. So still really excited for him as a player for future, for dynasty and everything like that. But right now he's getting a ton of snaps and not giving us much production. It's all still going to Khalil Mack, who still didn't even have that great of a game here either. So stick with Tuipulotu in Dynasty, but in redraft, absolutely you could stop taking chances because he's not giving us the production there. So
100%.
alrighty, that'll take us to the Vikings and the Bengals. So try to think. Yeah, this was a close one. Overtime, right? So there was definitely, let's see, 70 snaps for the Vikings available to 68 for the Bengals available. So some decent snap counts there, which was nice. So yeah, when we're looking for any major takeaways on the Bengals side, we have Jermaine Pratt, the linebacker, highlighted as potential pickup, a really strong performance and up to 94% of snaps. That was probably game script. With it being so close, he had a little bit more opportunity. I think that's one of his larger snap shares of the year, as well as Jordan Battle. We're just going to continue to call him out. He is the new starting safety for the past few weeks here now over Nick Scott. Nick Scott is dead, and Battle turns in a nice performance. Dax Hill had been kind of slumping lately, so Battle had been outproducing him. He he kind of finally gets back to a relevant game here. And, you know, at least in our score, he matched Jordan Battle. So hopefully that's going to mean good things to come here moving forward. But yeah, Logan Wilson, kind of a down game. I mean, good tackle floor, 7 total with 4 solos, but just you would expect with Jermaine Pratt having such a nice game. You know, it feels like between them two, it's always one or the other, right? It never feels like they get like even production. So yeah, that's kind of frustrating, right?
Yeah, very frustrating, but their floors are decent enough. Obviously, you can trust both of them, and it'll
Sure.
average out to be good. You just got to hope that they go
Yeah.
off on the week that you need them to.
Yeah. Yeah, and then down on the Vikings there, of course, Danielle Hunter continue his monster season. The top Vikings performer, another 2 sacks. We have DJ Wadham right behind him, who's playing. I mean, 94% of snaps for defensive end. You know, he's basically becoming Danielle Hunter light right now, and which is crazy. So, and I somehow I have him highlighted because I kind of thought at first he was going to be rostered everywhere, but I actually just got him picked up this other week here. It was in a contract league, and he's only linebacker eligible, which is super annoying. But I was like, he's still producing, he's still on the field a ton. So I don't know if somebody just wanted to dump his contract, but I scooped him up. So I feel like if I was able to get him in a super deep contract league, he might be still out there for others, and I would absolutely recommend picking him up and playing him, you know, for the home stretch here. So yeah, he's our main guy from the Vikings to pick up. Ivan Pace, you know, a strong game tackle wise. Didn't give us anything else from the big play department, but you know, 9 tackles, 7 solo. I'm not gonna turn my nose up at that as a floor going forward. So Pace definitely is a locked in LB1 for you here moving forward. So what else you got here on this one? Anything?
No, I mean this game, all of the people you were probably starting performed about their average, right? Like no one went super crazy. No one went super terribly in terms of your studs and your solids. Obviously, you want some more performance by Harrison Phillips there, defensive tackle for the
Yeah.
Vikings, especially at that 77% snap percentage. But you know, it happens at every position, right? Just hopefully that didn't sink you. But really, everyone else performed pretty well. I did want to highlight Trey Hendrickson only played 60% of the defensive snaps versus Sam Hubbard's 79%. I'm not seeing anything of injuries happening. Granted, you know, it's hard to keep track of every game. I don't know. Hendrickson and Hubbard have always been like that consummate. Like they'll be a solid
Yeah.
DE2 or DE3 with a DE2 upside. I don't love that 60% snap share. They are playing the Pittsburgh Steelers next week, which may offer some upside. But I don't know. If you're between a couple of people, I'd go for people that play more or getting more snaps than they are right now.
Yeah, with Hendrickson 60%, Miles Murphy came in at the exact 40% to add it up there to 100. So I don't know if it was a direct, you know, replacement every time Hendrickson came off that Miles Murphy was in, but the math at least checks out for us on that one. Yeah, I mean that could have just been rotation. I mean they always rotate. And you're always relying on Hendrickson. He's pretty much sack or bust. You can see there the 1 solo, 2 assists. So if he doesn't get the 1.5 sacks, 2 QB hits, and the TFL to go along with it, it's kind of a dud day. So you know Hendrickson kind of is what he is, no matter the snaps that he's playing. I think so. Yeah, I'm not a big fan. Honestly, I don't have a lot of Hendrickson just because I don't like to rely on those boom bust guys. You know, give me a DJ Wadham playing 94% over Trey Hendrickson, you know, all the time.
With 5 combined tackles, that's a nice tackle for.
But Hendrickson's got the bigger name, so more people probably rostering him over Wadham, which I think is a mistake. So. Alrighty, that will move us on to the Steelers and the Colts. And let me increase here. I always forget to do the zoom in. Sorry.
Our YouTube watchers, thank you.
Yeah. All right. So for Indy and Pittsburgh. We've got a lot of guys highlighted to potentially pick up here. So EJ Speed returned in this one and had a really nice game, 10 tackles, 9 solo, along with a forced fumble. So really great game from him. And if, people had dropped him from the injury and whatnot, he only missed, I think, 1 week. So he's back in full force. Everyone keeps asking, what's going on with Zaire Franklin. I mean, he's still playing, the majority of the staff pushing 100. He was at 97 in this one. I mean, sometimes it's just how it goes. There's nothing really going on. It's just that's IDP. I mean, it's just like off. It's just like people would say, "Well, oh, Dak Prescott, what's going on?" Yeah, he just had a down game. Like I don't know. There's nothing really to explain away there. It's just all fantasy football, all of this stats production is always volatile. So, do I think Franklin will bounce back eventually? Yeah, sure. By starting EJ Speed, playing less snaps over Franklin, only if I'm, willing to take a big gamble that week. But my advice would be no, don't do that. So, yeah, I don't know. I just been seeing a lot of talk around guys like Franklin lately. What's going on with Franklin? There's nothing going on with him. It's just sometimes the ball doesn't come your way to be able to make these tackles, and maybe these teams are strategically running at a guy like EJ Speed or throwing at a guy like EJ Speed because they know he's maybe a lesser talent or coming off the injury and whatnot. So he had more opportunity this week. So there's nothing really going on with Zaire Franklin. It's just kind of how things shake out,
Yeah, it's about tempering expectations. He's still the second highest points per game linebacker in this scoring system, and he 4th overall in terms of total points scored. I mean, he scored 9 points, right?
Yeah.
In this scoring system.
Yeah.
5 combined tackles and a pass defended. Like that's fine. He didn't lose you the week. Like if you're expecting
Right.
him to get, obviously you'd like to have him up to his season average, right? But he
Yeah.
wasn't the Trevin Morey that we just saw who scored 1
Yeah.
point. Or, Bijan Robinson this week on the offensive side that scored
Yeah.
you negative points. Like you would have been better off starting no one, right?
Right.
So it's like, no, Zaire Franklin's going to be just fine. Obviously, EJ Speed being good there, maybe impacts his upside. But at this point, at least I don't know about you. I don't really go very gambly when I'm in the playoffs. Like stick with what got you there. And then go for those averages. Like you just don't want people to lose 2 things, right?
Yeah.
So no, he's fine. He's doing
Yeah.
just fine.
So then the other guys for the Colts that we have highlighted for pickups would be Samson Ebukam, the defensive end, came away with another sack and a half in this one. So he's kind of been on fire in most of his past 3 or 4 games. And right behind him, Deo Odeigbo, the other defensive end, 1.5 sacks. Now, neither of these guys are playing DJ Waddle level snaps. You can see they're just 57% and 53%. So tough to roll them out there in shower leagues. But hey, in your deeper leagues, if you have to start 4 defensive linemen or 2 to 3 defensive linemen with some IDP flexes, then these are certainly guys that could be, rolled out in your starting lineups. Along with Grover Stewart at defensive tackle, just 43% of snaps, but he might be working back a little slowly from a conditioning standpoint and whatnot. He was suspended for 6 games or something, maybe even more than that. I don't remember, but he just came back last week. And this week, he gives you a half of a sack, a QB hit, 3 assists, and a solo on just 43%. If he can ramp up that snap share, he's going to ramp up that production too. We saw it all last year. So just kind of reminding people that he's back. And then another guy that returned from injury in your cornerback leagues was Julius Juju Brents. I'm a big fan of him, rookie corner. He walks right back into his starting role at 93% of snaps. So that's a guy that, not a ton of production this particular week, but hey, 93% of snaps for a rookie corner who's probably going to be targeted a lot. I'll take that over a lot of other guys. Like a guy like Jack Jones, give me Juju Brents over Jack Jones 100 times out of 100. On the Steelers side, we saw both the starting safeties go down and or be kicked out of the game. So Devontae Casey, I believe, is being suspended for his hit on Michael Pittman, which knocked him out of the game. And then Minka Fitzpatrick, I don't know the extent of the injury, but I believe he's definitely not going to be playing this upcoming week. So we have the two replacement safeties highlighted there in Trenton Thompson, and Miles Killebrew should be taking over the other role. So if you're really desperate, either one of those guys should be, 75 to 80+% of the snaps this week here for safety. So yeah, and I don't have a whole lot else from Pittsburgh. I mean, TJ Watt, really nice game as usual, and then Cam Hayward kind of bounced back. Elandon Roberts, is the LB1 when healthy. So, yeah, I don't know. You got anything else for either of these teams?
No, I mean, it's really the Landon Roberts thing. Like,
Yeah.
clearly the linebacker one right now, due to, attrition at the position, right? 100%
Yeah.
of the defensive snaps. He's the guy you want. There's no other linebacker on the Steelers you really want to really deal with. Joey Porter still rocking the 100% of snaps there at the cornerback position. You talk about
Good call.
Brents. Give me Joey Porter as well. Rookie cornerbacks. I will continue to hammer that. We got to make that into a shirt. It's just like make rookie cornerbacks relevant or something because they're great because they always produce seemingly, especially this year. But no, not a whole lot else to mention that we didn't already you didn't really cover. Yeah, I mean it's a risk playing one of those safeties, obviously, because who knows, production wise, they are playing, Jake Browning and the Bengals next week. So that, I mean, I suppose that is still a passing first team. Like they are letting Browning play, so the upside's still there. I hope it's a dart throw though. Just be wary that is a dart throw, and maybe that's where you're at in your league.
Big time. All righty. That will take us to the other Saturday night game. The Broncos and the Lions. That was, a beatdown that I don't think a lot of people were expecting quite as much, with the Broncos sort of being hot and their defense being on fire. But from an IDP standpoint, we saw their quarterback, Fabian Morrow, come away with the highest IDP score. So not a ton of IDP points to go around for the Broncos this one, because the Lions just kept scoring. So they weren't stopping much. So Jonathan Cooper did his thing with a sack and 5 solos. Josie Jewell actually outdid Alex Singleton. So I have Josie Jewell highlighted more as a reminder that he's still there and he can be productive. But you see only 71% of snaps. So Singleton still did play the 100% snap role. He just, didn't come away with his monstrous amount of tackles because, again, the Lions just kept scoring. So it was actually Jewell who had all the tackles in this one, 9 altogether, 7 solo, but nothing else to go with that. So, Jewell's someone who, should probably be rostered, but again, with that snap share, just again, be weary jamming him into your starting lineup. PJ Locke is on there as a reminder. He's been playing really well in the substitution for Kareem Jackson, so he should definitely be rostered. The safety for the Broncos, PJ Locke. And then Bear Browning saw his stats shoot up to 91%. With Nick Benito injured in this one, and that rotation, being a little light of players. So Cooper hit 85, but Browning 91. Now he didn't have much production to come away with on those stats, just 1 solo, 1 assist, 1 QB hit. But the QB hit means he's getting there, he's getting close. So I can see a sack or 2 coming his way over these next couple of weeks, especially if he's going to be on the field for that many snaps there. So hopping down to the Lions. Ifeatu Meliwafu is the new apparently starting safety for the Lions. He played 97% of snaps. Tracy Walker is apparently no longer a thing. So Meliwafu is definitely a guy to pick up here. He had a monster game, sack, 2 passes defended, forced a fumble, 9 tackles, 6 of them solo, 2 QB hits, TFL, like just all over the place in this one, making plays. So now, of course, they're not going to play the Broncos every week. So this could be a bit of chasing points. But if he's going to hold that strong snap share, then, I definitely at least want him on my team to have the opportunity to play him in a good matchup. And then Paschal, he's a former second-round pick. Playing opposite Aiden Hutchinson and mixing in there with John Kaminsky. He's definitely a boom bust guy. He's either giving you the sack like he did in this one, or he's not giving you a whole lot else. 2 to 3 tackles, maybe. So this was definitely a boom game for him. In your very, very deep, dynasty leagues, he's someone that should probably be rostered, but don't chase those points in your shower league. So what do you got for this game, Matt?
Yeah, I really wanted to highlight PJ Locke, so I'm glad you did. He's been on a roll for a while. We've sort of been hyping him up across the IDP guys, soon to be rebranded as IDP Plus sort of network, just as a guy to scoop up off of waivers, right? Because he's been hecking great. And 85% of defensive snaps is more than irrelevant, and he keeps putting up stats. So you love to see that. Love to see Drew Sanders play 17% of defensive snaps. Hooray for rookies. Still irrelevant for now, obviously, but not as much production from him as you'd want in his rookie year. But that linebacker position, all it takes is one opportunity to be relevant. So he's still a stash. Otherwise, right? I've been looking up what happened to Tracy Walker. I'm not seeing anything because he's been
I
on a
think he
roll.
just got benched.
Like Tracy Walker, I thought had been playing well, and he just
Yeah.
got benched. So with that case, I mean, Tracy Walker went out there, has been productive. So yeah, go out there and get this guy. Ifeatu Melifonwu, because if it's a productive spot on this defense, right? Like Kirby Joseph still had a fine-ish day.
Yeah.
Four combined tackles. Brian Branch.
Oh, yeah.
Tackles, QB hit, a pass defended, kind of saved his day with that pass defended in our scoring system.
I think it's time to be a little worried.
Yeah, only played 72%. So I am a little concerned there about Brian Branch. Yeah. Bit of a downswing for him. Let's see who the Lions play next week. Who's the matchup? Where are you? They play the Vikings.
Okay. Oh, nice. It's a good match.
It's a good matchup for those defensive backs. So I'd probably still be rolling them out there. Granted, if you have a better option, as always, play them. But I wouldn't be necessarily fading them against that matchup. So, and the final thing, Jack Campbell, 52%. I know we've been waiting for him to get that play time way the heck up, and it looked like he was on pace to do that. 52% is just not enough. So, as always, with these rookie linebackers, patience is the whole thing. So, obviously, with only a few games left in the year, it's really hard to trust him in your playoff push. So, probably best for the bench.
Totes agree. All right. That will take us to the next game of the Falcons and the Panthers. So this one was just a terrible, terrible low scoring game. You said Bijan, gave negative points. Like, oh, what's going on with Bijan? Like, I don't know. Nothing really. It's just his coach is terrible, makes terrible choices. So.
Yeah, Algier yet again out-touched him. So
yeah, wild. So the primary things for the Falcons are we saw Nate Landman return to beating out Kaden Ellis in IDP production. So back to be that thorn in my side. But I grabbed him in enough places that I'll give him this props. Happy that he's back. Happy that he's scoring points again. And the other one with our highlight there is DeMarco Helms pretty much has supplanted Richie Grant now as the starter next to Jesse Bates at safety. So he definitely needs to be picked up, and Richie Grant can definitely be dropped. So beyond that, the defensive line of the Falcons is always a mess. So I don't really have much beyond that. The Panthers here, hardly any production. Frankie Louvu continues to sputter to the finish line here. Really frustrating. Still playing 100% snaps, just not giving us production, at least not that we're used to. 10 total tackles is great. 7 of them are assists. A lot of people scoring, really don't give you much for assists. So, and he gave no splash plays. He hasn't had a sack in a while. So, yeah, definitely yikes for Frankie Louvu. I have Xavier Woods highlighted just because I feel like people kind of forget about him. So he topped the scoring in this one, playing 100% of snaps. Von Bell did return to also play 100%, but the production went to Xavier Woods in this one. Jeremy Chins, needs to leave Carolina, 23% of snaps, 1 solo. So I would still hold and maybe buy low in Dynasty, but he needs to get the hell out of Carolina. That's for sure.
Yes, he does. Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot to learn from this particular game. Just kind of gross. Other than the Richie Grant thing, right? Like as you mentioned, like that seemingly again came out of nowhere, right? It is that time of year when teams are getting eliminated from the playoffs. Granted, none of them are, or the Panthers are obviously, but they're trying to play other folks, see what they got for the future. And I think that might be what's happening here. Like obviously Richie Grant started really slow in his career. He came back and was pretty productive. And he was doing fine this year. He and Jesse Bates were like a nice little defensive back family. So who the heck knows what happened there? But yeah, 11%. Can't have that on your fantasy roster when you try to go for that champion. And even his dynasty value is a little bit in doubt there. Otherwise, Von Bell, the 100% of defensive snaps is really nice to see. It's just a really bad game flow with some offenses that couldn't really get anything going. So the Panthers next week play the Packers, who have a slightly better offense, right? So there should be some plenty of tackles to go along there. The Falcons are playing the Indianapolis Colts, who continue to just find a way to be productive, right? Minshew Mania. So those are 2 pretty decent matchups for the defensive backs. So keep on keeping on with those guys.
Very nice. All right. That's going to take us to the next game. The Bears and the Browns. This one was definitely an exciting game, that's for sure. Going to they go to overtime, right? Or was it the last second? I think it went to overtime, right? Or just I can't remember. Somebody won on a field goal.
It did not go to overtime. It did not.
Okay. So they won it at the end of the game.
Yeah, the Browns won on the last second field goal, yeah.
All right. So you can see I'm doing the IDP total points. And there's a shit ton to go around in this one, 360. You can see if I click back our other games, Panthers, Falcons was 266, Denver, Detroit, 276, Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, just under 300, 299. Minnesota, Cincinnati was a good chunk, 338. But this was a monster, 360. So a lot of that was because so we had defensive touchdown for Tremaine Edmonds at the linebacker spot. He returned an interception. I thought somebody else returned for a touchdown, but I guess not. Montez Sweat 2.5 sacks after a really slow start with Chicago. He's finally coming on, so hopefully you didn't give up on Sweat during that rough patch because he's turning it on right now. Eddie Jackson is back and had an interception. He's a big play guy. With Yannick Ngakoue on IR, I think for the rest of the season, we have DeMarcus Walker highlighted as a pickup. Half of a sack here, still 12 points, 78% sacks, basically what Ngakoue was doing. So he's still going to be very similar, kind of an all or nothing guy. But if you're looking for a replacement or starting 3 to 4 defensive linemen with some IDP flexes, Walker should definitely be on roster. So, and then jumping down to the Browns, we had JOK, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, have probably his best game that he's had all season, possibly in his career. Had a sack, 6 solos, 2 TFLs, QB hit, and interception, and 2 passes defended. So we have him highlighted just in case he might still be available. He has been very lumpy with his production this year, and 86% for a linebacker. We like to see him closer to 9,500 guys, but we know that he does possess these big play capabilities. So another Brown that's highlighted to pick up is Alex Wright on the defensive line with Agbonia out for this one. It could be missing more games. Alex Wright is pretty much his direct replacement there. Played 71% of snaps, got a sack as well. No sack for Myles Garrett in this one, kind of disappointing. And then at safety, we have Roddy Hickman, who played 95% for both the injured Grant Delpit and Juan Thornhill missed this one. So Roddy Hickman is the full-time player. It looks like DeAnthony Bell and Duron Harmon are splitting the other safety spot. Now, I don't know if there was an injury that came up there because that seems kind of weird. So that's why neither of them are highlighted because I just don't know what's going on with them quite yet. And if Hickman is getting the full snaps, then he's the one I'd rather take the chance on over Bell or Harmon. And then we saw my guy, Sione Takitaki, with Anthony Walker injured again. Sione played 97% of the staff, so I'm a big fan of his. I think this was a floor game for him at 10 points, 4 solos, 1 assist, and 1 TFL with nothing else. I think that's a floor you'll get from him in more of closer to a full-time role. So he actually played more snaps than JOK. JOK just went nuts in the production department. So I'll shoot it over to you for what you got on this.
Yeah, JOK has been, pretty dang solid all year. His minimum scoring is 5 points, which is not great, but again, it's not a 0. But it's been very frequently in the double digits recently. So I think he's a must start when you got him. But to your point, Taki when he gets the play time, he's productive. 97% is really nice. They're playing Houston, which hopefully we'll get CJ Stroud back next week, which again is an offense that can move the ball. So I really like him. Really like him there to pick up. And then on the Chicago side, next week they're playing in a someone must win bowl against the Arizona Cardinals. So that's kind of fun. I want to highlight Jaquan Brisker. Very disappointing year on the whole. We had him, as a top 5 guy. He's still playing 100%. I mean, he had 5 combined tackles in the pass defended in this one. I think if you have him, you still trust the process and throw him out there. Eddie Jackson, another on pretty, if you're in deeper leagues like we are, very heralded guy, but he's been doing great as well, 100% of defensive snaps. But yeah, again, we're in the time of the year where people are pretty much doing the thing they're doing, right? Like Myles Garrett maybe killed you in this one. We expect more from him. But again, 6 points, at least it's something.
Yeah.
It's not 0. But I don't think we learned a whole lot here to drastically change any of what you're doing.
Exactly. Brisker, you got to start. I mean, we saw what he did last week, right? He crushed. He had a monster game. So, and this is not a game that killed you or anything. So you kind of got to just eat games like that with to reap the rewards of the good games like last week. So,
indeed.
All righty, that'll take us to Bucs and the Packers. So. This one kind of surprising that the Buccaneers came away with the W in this one. Yeah. I don't hate to see it. So, someone's got to win that division. I would love to see Baker Mayfield in the playoffs with the Bucs. Actually, that would be
cool. Sure.
So for the Packers, Kenny Clark has a spike week with 2 sacks. He's a really good player, good talent, but for fantasy, he's just far too inconsistent to rely on. So I would not recommend chasing these points. That's why we don't have him highlighted. I mean, in super deep or DT required leagues, of course, people have him rostered. It might be rolling him out there. Hopefully they did this week. But that's just not someone I care to rely on. Week to week, even in a DT required league. So we do have the safeties highlighted, Jonathan Owens and Rudy Ford with Darnell Savage out. Rudy Ford, earn his spot back, I guess, next to Jonathan Owens. So both of them played 100% of snaps. So if the injuries are going to keep Savage out again, then both of them should be rostered, and you could have arguments to play both of them as well. We had a bit of a spike game from Kingsley and Agbare with a sack in this one. Again, you'd be chasing points there. I actually do like him as a talent, but just it doesn't play enough stats. Maybe next year, Preston Smith is gone. Agbare could be a deep dynasty guy, but don't chase these points in redraft for sure. Lucas Van Ness, same thing, had a sack, but again, just 42% of stats. Same exact advice there. We saw Rashad Gary and Preston Smith let us down in this one with horrible games. Gary played 60% and Preston Smith played 60%, 3 points between them. Not great for the quote-unquote starters and the studs there. And that's with Rashad Gary, man. You just same thing, right? You kind of just have to eat these to get the good games, right?
It's unfortunate because we really haven't seen his play spike like we wanted to, right? We kept projecting like, oh, he's going to come back from this injury, and they're easing him in. Like, I don't know if they're easing anymore. I think this is just what they're going to do to protect him. Right? It's harder to get hurt when you're not playing. Extremely frustrating from an IDP perspective because when Gary's out there, he's usually pretty dang productive, and he's one of the best to do it. But 60%, it's just hard to truly trust him at this point.
Yeah, totally. And then hopping out to the Bucks, Levante David returns and has a pretty much a monster game, which is what he's been doing all year. Same with Antoine Winfield. He's locked in. He's probably been the most consistent defensive back between quarters and safeties all year. So very nice asset to have there. KJ Britt we have highlighted as Devin White continues to miss time. So it is Britt who seems to be, when healthy, the direct replacement there. So if you need a replacement linebacker, that Britt could be that guy for you. Shaq Barrett, half of a sack, but down to 53% of sacks. Just really tough to rely on. The young guys that have been playing really well as of late just gave us duds in this one. So Kalijah Cansey down to 58% of snaps. Not sure why that happened. He split the time with Vita Vea and Greg Gaines, but none of them had very good games at all. Yaya Diaby, the edge rusher, defensive end, 60% of snaps, only 3 points in this one. Very disappointing. Logan Hall did nothing. Joe Tryon did nothing. This was all linebackers and defensive backs in this one for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, looking at the Devin White injury, it was mentioned that he was inactive because White himself said that he was not ready to go. Sounds like the Buccaneers are expecting him back, right? But if you're Devin White, who's about to get a payday somewhere, someone's going to pay for him. I'm wondering how much of this is a business decision to continue it out. So just monitor that with KJ Britt. He's proven to be productive, right, with Devin White out. But if Devin White's back, he's going to be getting those snaps. That's just going to be what it's going to be. Otherwise, very disappointing game from the young folks on Tampa Bay. I mean, it happens. It's fantasy, so it's kind of luck based, right? But two, these young folks, it's hard to truly know what to expect each and every week when they are, still in their NFL infancy. Then on the Packer side, I mean, other than those safeties that you already mentioned, so no reason to go more into that. I think keep on keeping on with them. Like the linebackers, it was nice to see Quay Walker back out there, 82% of defensive snaps, more than enough. And he has enough pedigree to just throw him out there anyway. So start him with confidence. Devondre Campbell continues to do his stuff. But really, other than that and those defensive backs, I don't know if I trust anyone on the defensive line at this point for the Packers to win you that ship. So avoid.
Yeah. It's funny because Baker Mayfield's been one of the better quarterbacks at not taking sacks this year. And yet the Packers came away with 2, 3, 4, 5, but none of them to people that that were helping you in IDP. Also interesting that Devondre Campbell played 98% to Walker's 82. That had sort of been flip-flopped here with at the beginning of the year with a healthy both of them. And Walker had flip-flopped So I wonder if that was health related, and maybe as he ramps up, we'll see that flip. I mean, it's not a huge discrepancy. It's both very strong percentages for very talented guys. So yeah, I agree with you. I think you definitely are starting Walker and Campbell as long as they're both healthier. Just kind of interesting to see that they kind of flip flopped here.
Yeah,
I'm going to assume that's due to health. So
I would assume so too.
all righty, that will take us to the next game being the Jets and the Dolphins. Just a massacre in this one. They benched Wilson again. I mean, I would just say, listen, release. I would ask for a release at this point. Like,
yeah, it's over.
I mean, they can't do that probably because of such a strong rookie contract. But like, yeah, like, what is the point of pulling him in the middle of the game after you were basically begging him to come start for you again? So him and I don't even know who came in, Simeon. So Dolphins had 3, 4, 5, 6 sacks on the day. Half of those all belonging to Bradley Chubb, all to himself, doing his best Jalen Phillips impression. So this was, of course, a matchup. We had Chubb, you can see over there in the start sitcom. We had him tagged as a stud this week, so we nailed that. We called it, but it was pretty obvious, right? With going against that Jets offensive line. So, yeah, Chubb, is sort of more of a matchup dependent guy. I wouldn't expect this, Unfortunately, they don't get to play the Jets every week, so this was probably going to be his best game of the year. But definitely, in the right matchups, I think you'll still play him with confidence. As far as players to pick up, we have Brandon Jones highlighted, played 100% snaps, had a really nice game with 2 interceptions. Really like Brandon Jones. It's kind of a shame he seemingly lost his job. He was coming off a torn ACL, I believe, headed into this year. So, to be expected, possibly ramp up a little slowly, but seems to be at full health and kind of seems to have lost his job. So it took Javon Holland and Deshaun Elliott being out for Jones to get a shot here. And, he proves what he can do, at least from an IDP standpoint. Zach Sealer, the defensive tackle, has just been, he's been just as good as Christian Wilkins this year. He's on a roll. He had a sack in this one, 71% of snaps, which for a high-end D tackle, that's more than enough. So definitely recommend, if he's still out there, picking him up. Even if you just play defensive line, he should be, 2 to 3 defensive line, and I want Sealer on my squad starting almost every week. Duke Riley, the linebacker, hit 81% of snaps. That's just about where we like to see for full-time linebackers. So he's worth a pickup. Had a nice game with half of a sack as well. And then, of course, our guy, Andrew Van Ginkel, AVG, when he's filling in for people, he just does really well. 88% of snaps, half of a sack in this one here. Definitely recommend a pickup there. David Long actually played more snaps than Duke Riley, 93%, but just didn't get the production, and most of his tackles were assists, unfortunately, in this one. So, and then just hopping down the Jets, not a lot of points there to go around. It was really all hogged by the Dolphins. DJ Reed coming away as the top scorer for the Jets with 14 points. So that just kind of tells you what kind of day it was for the Jets IDPs. So the linebackers continue to slump. CJ Mosley, great stats, 95%, but only 13 points on 7 tackles, 5 solos. And then Quincy Williams, 12 points on 84% of snaps, 6 tackles, just 4 solos. So I don't know, Jets kind of did not come to play in this one.
No, they did not. Just brutal. Interestingly enough, that's not even that interesting. The Dolphins play the Cowboys next week, which is fascinating. So I know I've been riding. I am still in some leagues with team defenses, and I've been riding the Dolphins because the last 3 or 4 matchups have been insanely tasty.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I roll with them against this Dallas team, who they looked pretty bad this week. We'll get to them against those Bills on the road. But I don't know. It scares me a little bit. But to your point, Brandon Jones, when he plays, he does really well. So you should go pick him up for Sure. Other than that, you mentioned everyone there, and then the Jets. You have to trust these linebackers are going to figure something out. Like again, they're not putting up nothing, right?
Yeah.
And they're getting the play time. It's just there's no other way of putting it than a slump, right?
Yeah.
They play a Commanders team next week that's also kind of in flux on that offense. So that's gonna be another gross game, I think.
Mhm.
I'm thinking more like the Panthers Falcons game. It's like someone's
Yeah.
got to win it. Hopefully, someone can score. So keep rolling them out there. Otherwise, DJ Reed's been a solid cornerback,
Oh yeah.
forever. So keep trusting him. Jordan Whitehead, I've always liked. 93% offensive snaps, more of a bye week fill-in than anything because he can have some dud games. But if you're
Mhm.
looking for a defensive back in a deeper league, he gets the play time and he can do it for you. And then Quinnen Williams only 66% of defensive snaps played, had half a sack, so it kind of saved you there. And
Yeah.
as a defensive tackle, you're probably not going to get someone with much higher upside. So keep rolling him out there. I mean, I would. There's a reason why he got paid all that money from the Jets.
Mhm.
But yeah, again, just a general down week for the Jets.
Yeah, it's been trending that way for a while here now, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So we'll leave that one and move on to the Chiefs and the Patriots. Your Pats still playing for either Caleb Williams or Marvin Harrison.
Or Drake May. I'm hearing a
Or
lot of
Drake
Drake.
May. Or Drake May, yeah. For the Chiefs, it's pretty top heavy with L'Jarius Sneed dominating the IDP production, much more so over Trent McDuffie. So usually hasn't been this lopsided, but 28 points to 2.5.
No, this is
Uh,
brutal.
I don't know what happened with McDuffie there, but yeah,
You see,
everything
when you
just.
play a team that can't pass very well.
But they still like to attempt to pass.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and only 53 staffs, to the Chiefs, so that kind of explains that why it was so top heavy. Because from there we jumped down to Willie Gay as the next best guy, who only had 2 solos but did have an interception that kind of boosted his day. We have Justin Reed highlighted to pick up as a safety, playing 100% of snaps. He's been kind of inconsistent all year, but had a decent enough game in this one. And with who they Brian Cook, I believe, is lost or at least injured for the moment. So Mike Edwards is the other safety, but we like Justin Reed a little bit more here going forward. And then Charles Omenihu played 64% of the snaps. He's coming along here. Had a sack in this one, chasing points a little bit, but he is a decent enough talent there. So, but yeah, after that, the linebackers majorly disappointed. Nick Bolton down to 81% of snaps. He was, bagged up with some injuries again after just returning from IR. Drew Tranquil returned from his missed game to play just 38% of snaps. Leo Chenal mixed in at 36%. Willie Gay was at 57%. So this is just, we're back in linebacker rotation hell for the Chiefs again. So yeah, obviously I'm still wanting and starting Nick Bolton, but no one else.
He's the only guy. Willie Gay only 57%. Like that's not nearly enough to trust to do anything each and every week. Yeah, obviously we still expect it to be Bolden's linebacker room when he's fully healthy, but yeah, he just can't help himself. He keeps getting hurt.
Yeah. And then jumping down to your Patriots there, Christian Barmore with a nice little breakout game and a sack. Probably the most tackles that he's had all season, so that's
Oh, yeah.
nice. Jelani Tavai is highlighted. He outproduced Jawan Bentley this one on, significantly less staff, 71% for Tavai to 94% for Bentley. So I'm not starting Tavai over Bentley, right, because of the stat discrepancies, but it's kind of like an EJ Speed, Zaire Franklin situation, right? Sometimes the second guy just gets the production in certain weeks.
Yeah, I mean, Tavai got a pretty lucky interception there, which is what aided in
Yeah.
that point, or those points. But yeah, 71% is fine.
Yeah. He's a nice little like handcuff guy to have. As well as Anthony Jennings, the defensive end / edge rusher, 60% of snaps. That was one of his lower snap counts as of recently, and he still had a decent enough game without a sack. So I think he's only got one sack on the year potentially, but he's been doing okay in the tackles department. So if those sacks can come here at the end of the year, that would just be phenomenal. So what else you got for this one?
Yeah, I think Jennings got hurt in the middle of the game. I think
Damn it.
he came back. He came back. So
Oh, good.
that can explain the low snap percentage
Okay.
there. Marty Mapu had a nice interception. It was a freaking
Yeah.
dime throw from Mahomes right to Mapu. But he only played 23%, so don't go crazy for him there. No, Duggar had a nice game. It's always nice to see Duggar have a nice game. Peppers continues to be really, really nice. I'm getting pretty high on him in Dynasty because you're looking at players that the Patriots are going to try to keep, right? And the defense has been pretty solid. But I think Peppers is one of those ones that we definitely have, I think, one more year in his contract. But he's getting that play time. He's been producing great, kind of like the heart and soul of that defense. So if you can go get him for cheap in Dynasty, I think he's going to be a perfectly fine DB3, for the foreseeable future. So you might be able to get him for like nothing. So no, not a whole lot to learn about the Patriots. Who the heck do we? Oh, the Broncos. Good old Saturday night football. I don't know. I don't know. I would just say continue to trust Juwan Bentley. The 94% of defensive snaps is, more than enough to be relevant. I would expect the Broncos to be running a bit more than the Chiefs did. With Isaiah Pacheco out, they were relying on Patty Mahomes to do it for him. So you'd expect Bentley to get some more tackles against a more balanced offensive attack. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. That'll take us to the Giants and the Saints. I feel like this was kind of a stinker too. You can see 264 total points there. One of the lower ends. Again, very top heavy between a few guys at the top. So I looked up I listened to the pronunciation. It's Tano Passino is the same defensive end there. Villanova guy who I didn't realize so that's my neck of the woods here. So a huge monster game, 3 sacks, 6 tackles, 5 solo, all at just 47%. So we don't have him highlighted as a pickup just yet. You definitely would be chasing points at one because like us. I'm obviously aware of him as a player, but he's a lower end, super deep type guy. So I recommend not chasing the points. Again, 47% of snaps. Playing the Giants, someone always has a game like this, right? With that offensive line and playing Tommy Cutlets, the sacks are going to be there. We saw a breakout for Brian Breesy as well. Again, not highlighted. In dynasty leagues, of course, but he's already rostered because he was a high draft capital guy. But 60% of snaps, probably the highest he's seen all year, or one of the highest. So he's in a deep rotation there. That whole defensive line is a deep rotation. Carl Granderson did his thing, got in on the sack party. So we had 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sacks for the Saints in this one. So we hope that Granderson did his thing. Unfortunately, Cameron Jordan continues to be non-existent.
He hit that wall.
Yeah, I think it's over. So so we don't actually have anyone highlighted to pick up for the Saints. Last week it was Jordan Howden, the safety. I guess you could, have him on there again, but again, very matchup dependent guy, not super talented. So, and then we jumped out to the Giants. It was mainly a Jason Pinnock game with a sack in this one, as well as 7 solos. Alshon Robinson, the interior lineman, defensive tackle, 8 tackles, 7 solo on 69% of snaps. Very nice there, but again, not someone we have pegged as a pickup just because he's not very consistent there. Micah McFadden beat out Bobby Okereke despite lesser snaps. I don't know how Okereke only came away with 3 total tackles in this one. So definitely a dud, but still played 100% snaps. You got to give him a pass for as much as he's been crushing it all season long. So, and then the only guy we have pegged to pick up from this game would be Azeez Ojulari. Seems like the snaps are ramping up to 69%. Nice. Only 3 tackles total in this one with nothing else. So the production is still a bit lacking, but I like seeing those snaps ramped up. He actually beat out Kayvon Thibodeau in production, who played 90% of snaps, but only gave us 1 tackle. So I like to see, I'm a fan of Ojulari. I'm glad to see the snaps ramping up. So he's a cautious ad for me off the waivers here.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. With the release of Mean Girls, the musical, the movie coming out recently, like we keep trying to make Azeez Ojulari happen, and I'm hopefully this time he will. But I feel like as soon as he has one good game, he'll get hurt. Fair. Right. I feel like that's been the story of his career. But yeah, I like that. Tentative ad there if you're desperate. This is a lot of keep trusting the process again. I keep saying it. Like Kayvon Thibodeau, very disappointing game for a defensive end that played 90% of defensive snaps. But you don't get many defensive ends with that amount of snap, which is so you're gonna have to keep trusting that he's gonna go back to the average or hopefully more next week when they take on the Philadelphia Super Eagles. Fantastic. I don't know if that's a good matchup for Kayvon, to be honest. I don't know.
Probably not. Jalen's pretty slippery.
It sure is. But you're still probably rolling him out there, if we're being honest. Other than that, Jason Pinnock continues his really, really nice, solid year. You have to trust Bobby Osen to come back with some more tackle production at that amount of playtime, which is 100%. Pete Warner, 73%, kind of justifying the probably leaving him on the bench other than leagues where have weird, sort of settings there or really, really deep leagues. No, not a whole lot to learn here. Not a whole lot.
Yeah. So
other than play defensive line folks that play against the Giants, which we already knew, which I again just mentioned, that's the Philadelphia Eagles. So you're probably playing them already anyway, but we'll roll them out with a lot of confidence next week.
Right. Yeah. So we had Passano, pegged as a Hail Mary start, which is borderline. You're not starting him unless you're have no better options, but he came away, the Hail Mary converted on that one.
I'd say probably Josh Sweat for the Eagles next week would be that kind of player, right?
Exactly.
Who hasn't done a whole lot this year, but if you're desperate,
it's a good matchup. Yeah.
Good matchup.
Yeah, Josh Sweat. He's a good player. Yeah, his production is way down from last year, but in the right matchup, which would be the Giants, it's a perfect get right game. So
exactly.
All righty. We'll flick over to the Texans and the Titans. So I need to get your quick opinion on the Titans wearing the Oilers throwbacks right in the Texans' face. It's kind of messed up.
It's savage, and I love it. Yeah, why not? That's just fun. Maybe a little mean, but I'm sure there's plenty of nostalgia going around for fans and players alike.
And the Texans came away with the dub, so who's laughing now? You can see another game that had an enormous amount of total IDP fantasy points going around here. So
how many sacks was that?
Yeah, in the whole game,
11 sacks, 2 interceptions. Whew.
Wild. So lots of big splash plays. Desmond King somehow was the top scorer for the Texans without having an interception, but he got a sack, 11 tackles altogether, 6 of them solo. So nice game from King there, who's bounced around. I think that he started with the Texans, bounced 2 different teams in season, and is now finding himself back with the Texans. So interesting. Jonathan Greenard, with no Will Anderson, soaked up 2.5 sacks, a monster game from him. We saw Denzel Perryman and Christian Harris be the healthy linebackers who were playing this week at 92%, 95%. So they are the ones that we have pegged as pickups for this week. So that's Perryman and Harris. Derek Barnett, the Eagles cast off, shows up. He had signed with Texas a couple weeks ago, but again, with no Will Anderson, he played 54% of snaps and got himself a sack this week too. So he could be someone, depending, I don't know how much time Will Anderson's going to miss, but Barnett could be a solid pickup there. And then for the Titans, Elijah Molden, don't chase those points. He returned his interception for a touchdown, but just 44% of the snaps. Aziz Al-Shaair had a monster game. Roger McCreary is the corner you would want to chase, 100% snaps, had a lot of tackles there. Denico Autry filled in great for Jeffrey Simmons being out. Monty Hooker, someone I normally have highlighted out here, but at this point I felt like we exhausted him. So, if he's not rostered, he should be. But then we have Jack Gibbons highlighted, 70% of snaps. They cut Monty Rice in the middle of the year, so he is safe with that linebacker 2 role here. Hopefully Jeffrey Simmons returns because the hodgepodge crew of defensive tackles that they've thrown together didn't really do a whole lot outside of Denico Autry, who is kind of more of a tweeter, interior and outside guy for the most part. So he's kind of a cheat code being a defensive tackle to begin with. So Jimmy Ward for the Texans did leave this game, I believe with another concussion possibly or some injury that only allowed him to play 13% of snaps. His replacement, I believe, would be DeAndre Houston Carson. So he could be a pickup too, but you'd have to be pretty desperate, and we don't know the extent of Ward's injury.
Yeah. So from the Titans side, the studs play like studs. Really enough said there. From the Texans side, it's kind of pretty similar. I always like to highlight Derek Stingley when he's healthy. Another great young cornerback that does really well. 100% defensive snaps. You love to see it. You can do far worse than him in your cornerback required leagues. And then you highlighted them, Perryman and Harris, like kind of the two we went into the year expecting to be the linebackers for Houston. We finally got a game where it's like we feel validated. Perriman playing 92%, Harris playing 95%. That is obviously plenty enough to be trusting them out there. As soon as we them, though, of course, Henry 2020 is going to come back and start playing again. But for the time being, this is kind of what's the phrase? This will be expected to be, so I feel fairly confident that this is what it's going to be moving forward. So having them as solid, I think, is in our start sit sort of column feels right.
Yeah, 2-2, he is back. I think he's been relegated mostly to just special teams now, and maybe a handful of snaps on the field. But he didn't record any statistics in this one. So yeah, it's a big fall from grace for the 2-2 believers. That will take us to 49ers Cardinals. So pretty much a blowout. Like the Cardinals got some garbage points at the end. But you can see not a lot of IDP fantasy points, and we only have one guy pegged to pick up, and that would be Javon Kinlaw on the 49ers end, the defensive tackle. The top scorer for the Cardinals was a rookie quarterback, Starling Thomas. So I actually really like as a player. But yeah, that's not great. So I really thought the safeties were going to give up because the 49ers give up a lot of tackles to safeties, but Jalen Thompson did okay. 6 tackles, 5 solo, but nothing else. No splash plays. And then Buda Baker, 5 tackles, 3 solo with nothing else. So I guess they got okay tackles-wise, but just no splash plays because the 49ers just score all the time. So it's tough.
Efficient machine.
Yeah. So yeah, honestly, this game I probably have the least to say about. I mean, no major injuries. All the people that we expected to play, their staff played. There just wasn't much production for the Cardinals. And then on the 49ers end, the linebackers dominated, the corners dominated, as the Cardinals were trying to play from behind all game. So that's kind of to be expected. Bosa luckily saved his day with a sack. Otherwise, it would have been really rough. So I don't know. What do you have on this one?
Yeah, not a whole lot more than that. I mean, the Cardinals have just been gross all year. Like, I don't know. It's tough to trust any of them, Like, obviously, we like our defensive backs there, and Baker and Thompson, and yeah, then rightfully so. If you got them, you're rolling them out. But I don't feel like I felt a few years ago with Buda Baker, where it's like he's gonna explode, right? So like, okay, he's gonna put up maybe double digits and be okay. And then don't want to take too much time because the 49ers played like the 49ers do, which is awesome, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know exactly who to be playing. So yeah, I mean, to your point, yeah, there's not a whole lot really to say.
Yeah.
I guess maybe Chase Young, only playing 54%. I mean, that's an embarrassment of riches there on that defensive line. So like, they're not trying to force him in there because they have enough bodies there. So you shouldn't be trying to force Chase Young in there in your lineups as well. So other than that, no, you keep on playing your studs.
Feels like they're taking it easy with him to, for the playoffs to maybe ramp him up fully. So that's why, the interior guys are playing a little bit better. Javon Kinlaw, Kevin Givens in for the injured, Javon Hargrave, and Arik Armstead. So that's kind of what's going on there. Josh Woods on the Cardinals end, you would like to trust at 96%. I think I would for the most part if I'm starting 2 to 4 linebackers, maybe with a flex or two. I think I'm starting Josh Woods most weeks. It's just this was a brutal production, because they kept scoring. They didn't even run the ball, so that kind of is what it is, right? All right, so we'll get away from that gross game for IDP and head to the Commanders and the Rams here. A little bit better, but not much, honestly. Very top end. So Ernest Jones for the Rams is doing his thing. John Johnson has a full-time role. Quentin Lake returned from injury and takes over with 90% of the snaps played. He's more of like he's kind of like a hybrid safety corner. Jordan Fuller is still playing 98% of snaps, so it's kind of a big, 3-man job there. It's going to probably be a different guy every week, but John Johnson's been on fire the past couple of weeks. So our guys on the defensive line didn't do anything in this game. So Heck had a down game. Aaron Donald did hardly anything. Kobe Turner did hardly anything. And Byron Young did hardly anything. So really surprising going against that Washington, offensive line and Sam Howell, who loves to take sacks. They only had 1 sack in this one. So all of our bets on on the Rams defensive line, we have them in, stud and solid categories, and none of them delivered. So that was a huge miss. And no good reason, they should have been able to get home. Sam Howell did get replaced with Jacoby Brissett, but still they had plenty of time early in the game to get to him. So on the Commander side, it is Kaliki Hudson, who is the new LB2 behind Cody Barton. So we thought it might be David Mayo, who played well for Cody Barton when he was out, but I think they're doing a direct backup situation there. So Mayo is the direct backup to Barton, and if Barton's not out, Mayo doesn't play. And Hudson is the direct backup for Jamin Davis. With Jamin Davis gone for the rest of the season, Hudson is definitely a top waiver wire pickup here. So what else you got for this one?
Yeah, while disappointing, Byron Young did play 80% of the defensive snaps of the young defensive ends. So, you love to see it. Brighter days are definitely ahead for that young man. Otherwise, done only 65%. Not a disappointing year of the defensive tackle position. We've kind of been on this for a few weeks now. I don't know if there's going to be necessarily a bigger name on your waiver wire, but if you're still in there and there's defensive tackle required leagues, you can probably find someone that's done more this year. Aaron Donald, which is a crazy thing to say. And I don't go crazy, but I don't know. It's hard for me to trust him in your semifinals or quarterfinals, depending on your league settings. And then Washington, other than Hudson, the players played like we expected to. Barton played great, 100% of offensive snaps, 13 combined tackles. That's what he does. Jerome Payne finally had a game that was reminiscent of last year's breakout. 72% of defensive snaps played, 2 sacks, 3 QB hits, 3 combined tackles. So that's nice. I don't fully trust him again like I did last year, but again, like if Donald or Payne, like I don't know, it's more of a coin flip than you'd expect it to be at this point. Cam Curl, 100% defensive snaps, 5 combined tackles. Not quite the production we want from him, but it's just like seeming like an off game for most folks. Not a whole lot to learn from this one.
Good. All right. That will take us to the Cowboys and the Bills. So yet again, the Cowboys involved in another goofy blowout game, but this time getting blown out by the Bills. So going to be tough to have, strong takeaways from their side of the defensive snaps, and kind of the same for Buffalo. So Taylor Rapp played 100% snaps. So if you're in need of a safety, kind of Hail Mary guy for the rest of the year, Taylor Rapp is pegged as a pickup. We saw Terrell Dodson outduel Terrell Bernard on just 51% of snaps to Bernard's 88%. So that's not usual this year. So I would still continue rolling Bernard out there. But again, with kind of a goofy game script, you're going to get goofy results here. We did have a few sacks. Rousseau got a sack. Floyd got a sack. Oh, Rousseau half of a sack to be split with Dodson. And then that scumbag Jordan Phillips got a sack as well on 28% of the snaps. So do not go chasing those points. Ed Oliver let us down in this one. His production continues to be very lumpy throughout the year. On the Dallas side, Damone Clark was the top scorer. Seems to have the LB role in lock over Marquise Bell. We were kind of unsure because they'd been flip-flopping the staff leaders, but I think that's 2 weeks in a row now that Clark has it. So he should be pretty solid going forward. DeMarcus Lawrence does the Undertaker gif sitting up and decides to have a game. I would absolutely not trust him or that production going forward, but he did give us 8 tackles somehow, 7 of them solo. Really just doesn't make any sense to me. Donovan Wilson is a safety that I like going forward here. Only 69% of the snaps. He had been, in the high 80s or low 90s, so I'm kind of unsure why the snaps dipped so low in this one. But as long as he's, not injured, I'm still really confident in him going forward with those prior strong snap counts. And, Micah Parsons, killed you in this one. So hope all you guys 101s, like this solid 2 assisted tackles in your first week of playoffs. So I think you deserve it. And, I feel very validated in my whole preseason take of not understanding why people were gobbling up Parsons as the top IDP player. So, haha, to all of you.
Yeah, but you wouldn't rub that in anyone's faces, right? That's me. Oh, you switched to this. There you go.
Yeah. Sorry, somebody messaged me. I didn't know that was going to pop up there.
Oh, you're good. I mean, noteworthy performances on the Cowboys. Mozzie Smith, 47% of defensive snaps. That's fun to see. Probably in the fact that the game was pretty over. So let's go see what he has. So don't rush out and pick him up. But for those of us in those deeper dynasties, like we like to see that though. I like to see that upside there. So that's nice. Stephon Gilmore at cornerback spot has had a couple of nice games back to back. 100% of defensive snaps. People throw against the Cowboys. The Cowboys have a nice defensive line, or at least they try to. They play Miami next week. So
nice
that should be a fun game. That should be a fun game. So I would expect there to be a lot of passing. So I like the defensive backs there for the Cowboys in that game. Osa Adegazuwa, 75% of defensive snaps. That's really nice from defensive tackle. He's nothing more right now than probably a DT3, DT2, but it's a name that he continues to see a more and more expanded role, and he's making plays. So
the snaps are killer for defensive tackle. So
exactly.
I love it.
So loving that. From the Bills, Jordan Poyer continues to be sort of an unsung DB3. I just checked it out. He's 31st in safeties.
Oh, nice.
In our scoring system, which is it's DB3.
Yeah.
I feel like we don't talk about him a whole lot because we're kind of just used to that performance, so it's not really exciting. But 12 points in the scoring system. So don't forget about him. He's a pretty solid play across the board. Otherwise, I think you nailed everything else.
Yeah, I just want to point out Sam Williams again. Only 16% of snaps. I wish they would give him more run, but 2 QB hits on those 16%. Like if he can be unleashed next year, he's going to be a monster. Especially playing opposite Parsons. Like, oh man, he's gonna be one-on-one a lot. Like, I'm really excited. I really hope he gets a shot next year and they move on from DeMarcus Lawrence and he can, hit that 60 plus snap count. So in Dynasty, I am a strong holder of Sam Williams. So all right, that's our brings us to our final game. The Ravens and the Jaguars. Awesome to see Justin Madubuike continue his torrid season. Another sack. It was an 11 straight, I think I heard, with a sack.
With at least half a sack, yeah.
Yeah, for an interior lineman like that, he's just a stud.
He's going to get paid.
Yeah, big time. Kyle Hamilton had a decent enough game, but not a lot of points to go around overall for the Ravens, though. So thankfully, Madubuike had that sack, but also 4 QB hits to go along with it and a forced fumble, but only 1 solo. So basically, all one play. He had his points, but it was significant play, that's for sure. The linebackers in Roquan and Patrick Queen, very modest games here. 6 tackles and 4 tackles for Smith and then Queen. I don't really have a ton else. I guess did Marcus Williams get hurt again because he only played 56% of the snaps and Geno Stone back up to 77, but neither had a whole lot of production to go with that. So I don't know at this point. It feels like musical safeties, whether they're healthy or not, and who's actually giving us production. And Kyle Hamilton was banged up coming into this game. Like I'm kind of over their whole safety group there at this point. So, and then for the Jaguars, it was all the safeties. Rayshad Jenkins and Andrew Wingard had the best days here. Foye still did his thing. Devin Lloyd coming out strong at the end of the season. Trayvon Walker gets a sack. Josh Allen, unfortunately, no sack. Still got 2 QB hits. It was very much disruptive in this game. Unfortunately, we don't get fantasy points for that, but he should still finish the year quite strongly. So Wingard is the only guy we have pegged from this one as a pickup. As long as Andre Cisco is going to be out, Wingard should have very decent upside here going forward, playing next to Jenkins. So you got anything on this one?
Yeah, no, not really. I mean, these players. I mean, if you're following along on YouTube, which you should be, like and subscribe if you are, all that jazz. Heck, like and subscribe anywhere you're listening to this. Smash it. Like, we appreciate you. Thanks for being here and seeing us through the end of this. But if you're watching on YouTube, you see our start sit designations, and all of the studs and solids pretty much did their stud and solids things on both sides.
Yeah.
Right. And without any crazy injuries. Not a whole lot to learn. I mean, I'm a little surprised Kyle Hamilton came back after that scary MCL sprain and played 100%. Like, they're just like, yep, you're back, you're good. So, I mean, roll him out there with confidence wherever you have him. To be honest, I was fading him this week just on the idea of, like, I don't know how much he's going to play because they thought his season might have been over, but he's back like after 1 or 2 weeks. Come on. But no, not a whole lot to learn. Keep rolling out these folks. where you're rolling them out because they're all doing well.
Absolutely. All righty. We will wrap up here with just kind of a overview of the top pickups. So I'm just going to do like the top maybe 3 or 4 at each position there. And if you want to chime in with anyone else, please feel free. So at linebacker, we think the top pickup should be Kaliki Hudson over there in Washington, along with Jermaine Pratt in Cincinnati, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, and Sione Takitaki from Cleveland. I'll go top 5. And then Josie Jewell there in Denver would be our favorite adds at linebacker. At defensive back, DeMarco Helms in Atlanta, the new safety playing next to Jesse Bates. Ifeatu Malawafu over in Detroit, taking over for Tracy Walker full-time. Taylor Rapp over in Buffalo, and Xavier Woods over in Carolina. And of course, Jordan Battle in Cincinnati is pretty close to a full-time player next to Daxton Hill there. And then on your defensive line, it's DJ Wadham, just crushing the snaps and crushing the production lately over in Minnesota. Zach Sealer, the defensive tackle in Miami. Barrett Browning, the defensive end in Denver. Samson Ebukam, the defensive end in Indianapolis. And then, of course, our Swiss Army knife, Andrew Van Ginkel in Miami. I don't really know what position you want to say he plays: linebacker, edge rusher, defensive end. He does it all. And when he gets to play, a full-time role, he just does nothing but give you IDP fantasy points. So, yeah, you got anyone from that list you want to highlight or names that, weren't mentioned that you'd like to highlight?
Yeah, I mean, at linebacker, if you can get yourself a Denzel Perryman, like I think he's a really solid ad there in Houston. At defensive back, I'll continue to hammer PJ Locke. He's been really good for the last few weeks. You can probably find him pretty much anywhere. Solid DB2 for you in most of your league sizes. And then defensive line. I'll be a homer and say Anthony Jennings has been really, really great for the past. He's been getting the playtime. Don't be too scared about his injury. He came back, continued to be fine. So those would be my main additions.
Excellent. All right. Well, I'm gonna do a quick little sign off and then go eat some chicken noodle soup. I'm sure everyone watching, listening can see the energy's down, the voice is a little nasally. I'm fighting something. I don't know what the heck it is, but I'm gonna go eat some chicken noodle soup and hopefully watch my birds rise from the past couple of games where they've been getting demolished and take a W home over there in Seattle. So appreciate everyone listening. Again, I'm Steve Thompson, Dicey Santa on Twitter. And Matt, I'll let you take us off.
Yep, I'm Matt Record at MRecord21. As always, check out all the great stuff in the IDP guys. Again, soon to be renamed IDP Plus Network. We're on X/Twitter. We're on Instagram. We have Facebook. We have obviously idpguys.org. We have a bunch of awesome YouTube content, a lot of awesome podcast content. It's everything. It spans everything. We have a really great offense content with the offensive points guys now that are about to switch over to really dynasty focused stuff. We have some new betting podcasts that are coming out. I really have everything. I know the NFL season is sort of dying down going to those playoffs, but we're going to be rocking this the entire year. Whatever y'all need for your fantasy football leagues, we're going to be here for. So be sure to be following us everywhere and check out our merch. We've got some new merch rolled out today. Head over to idpguys.org to see that, or there'll be a link if you're watching on YouTube to our merch site right here in the description. And go check it out. It looks fly as a heck.
Beautiful.
So hopefully y'all are still in your leagues. I know I'm kind of in some of them. But I wish you nothing but the best this week as you go for that gold.
Yeah, good luck. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Thank you for watching this IDP Guys video. If you like this content and you want more fantasy football content, click here. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos to help you master your IDP league, click here to subscribe.